Every family has its secrets. Locked away behind our front doors are the hidden pasts, the buried scandals, and the life-changing decisions that have shaped our families and our nation.
All my mother's family were murdered in concentration camps. I don't know how I survived.
It's a human right to know who your parents are.
When my mother disappeared, how long it took for the police to take it seriously?
Well, I've heard my father was a spy, so who is this man?
He died of a head injury. I have been told that my father was the cause of his death.
Wow. Every Family Has a Secret uncovers the extraordinary stories behind our everyday lives. This time, two Australians set out to discover the truth about their fathers.
Your father lied on a number of matters.
Paul Morris journeys into the murky world of espionage to uncover whether his father was a Soviet spy.
This is high-level surveillance.
Incredible.
And Elizabeth Brierley investigates her family's links to an unsolved murder.
We all have secrets, love.
We're talking about one of the highest levels politically sanctioned murders in the history of Australia.
Searching for her true father.
There is a book.
Oh, look at that.
In Western Australia, Elizabeth Brierley is chasing answers to a lifelong mystery.
My biological mother was Louise McLaughlin, who was a prostitute. And because of Mum's profession, I was always told I'd never know who my dad is. It made me feel different from everybody else. Not having that sense of belonging. It's a human right to know who your parents are.
As a young child, Elizabeth was told that she was adopted. But as a teenager, she was shocked to learn that her adoption wasn't legal. She also found out that her biological mum was a sex worker for Perth's most well-known brothel madam, Shirley Finn, in the same year that Shirley Finn was murdered. Elizabeth.
Noni, hi. Come in.
Thanks. How old were you when you found out that you weren't the natural-born child of your mum?
I was about 8. Up until that point, I believed that Anne was my mother because I called her mum. And maybe a year or two later, I got presented with a photo of my real mum and her name, Louise.
I can see the likeness there.
My adopted mum told me that my mum was a prostitute. It was presented to me in a way that my mum didn't want me. And I actually became quite depressed and felt very abandoned. But for some very strange reason, I've always felt very connected to Louise. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand. She's your mum.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about how the woman who raised you, how she came to have you?
She was a secretary of a medical centre that dealt with taking care of the working girls.
So there was some kind of a agreement or arrangement made between the two women?
Presumably, yeah. But there was no adoption, there was no fostering, and I wasn't ward of the state.
Your mum was working for Shirley Finn in the same year that Shirley Finn was murdered?
Yes.
And that's 1975.
Yes.
And I believe Shirley was threatening to expose the police?
Yeah, a lot of corruption.
Do you have a sense that you being conceived and carried and given birth to while all this was going on is somehow linked?
Yeah.
You really feel that's your gut instinct?
Yeah. I've always felt that she was on the run. And here I am, nearly 45, and I don't have any answers. No truth. Who am I?
So I think you have to spit into that one. With both of Elizabeth's mothers having died, she's hoping her DNA will lead her to her father. Are you worried about what this might reveal?
Put it this way, science doesn't lie, does it? That's why I think this is the way that we get the answers.
When Elizabeth was born in November 1975, her birth name was Emily McLaughlin. But within a year, she was placed in the arms of divorced single mum Anne Brierley and given a new identity, Elizabeth Brierley.
Annie getting me wasn't legitimate. It wasn't legal. It hadn't gone through any department. I felt like there was something that she wasn't telling me, and that feeling actually never went away.
Elizabeth's highly unorthodox handover occurred in the shadow of the murder investigation into brothel madam Shirley Finn, and she has long suspected that understanding this crime might be the key to unlocking her father's identity. 2 years ago, her suspicions saw her connect to a woman who's become her best friend, Shirley Finn's daughter, Bridget.
Hello, lovey. Haven't seen you for a while.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
Bridget was just 13 when her mum was murdered.
And we're just approaching the South Perth Golf Course now on the right. That's where my mum was found.
In June 1975, brothel madam Shirley Finn was executed in the front seat of her Dodge Phoenix sedan. Finn was the flamboyant queen of Western Australia's sex industry, tolerated under a flawed containment policy, which allowed a brutal protection racket to flourish. The list of murder suspects read like a who's who of underworld figures and corrupt police. Amongst them, Senior Detective Don Hancock.
Nobody saw or heard anything.
Elizabeth's mum, Louise, was one of the first to be questioned by police. To identify the cast of players in this dark story and whether Elizabeth's biological father could be among them, the pair have turned to journalist and author Juliet Wills, who has spent 2 decades investigating the murder.
The system that Shirley was in involved a level of protection by police and payment up the line. Oversighting the whole containment business was politician Ray O'Connor, Minister of Police, and he would go on to become Premier and was later jailed for corruption. So we're talking about potentially one of the highest levels politically sanctioned murders in the history of Australia. If this murder did reach that high, you can very much imagine the stakes and the vulnerability of women like your mum.
Louise would have felt like her life was in danger.
Can you imagine being 5 months pregnant and going through this night?
Yeah, it would have been terrifying.
We know many of the girls fled and left the state, and many of them believed that they were going to be next. And a detective who was named as a suspect in all of this was Don Hancock.
Bizarrely, Don Hancock is someone Elizabeth knows from her childhood.
The lady that brought me up was Anne Brierley, and would have parties, and I remember distinctly Mr. Hancock. I remember him because of all Anne's friends who were all very nice. Mr. Hancock never spoke to me.
It's odd, isn't it? You're handed to Anne, and Anne is friends
with Mr. Hancock. There's a link there, isn't there? I think there's a link there.
We know that Shirley was murdered over something that she knew about powerful people. What if one of the working girls was carrying the baby of one of those powerful people?
Well, that's my suspicion.
Speculation still surrounds the motives for the murder. But what has become clear is working girls were under police pressure to sign witness statements. And Louise's document seems particularly suspect.
So there's Louise's signature.
It's an A, isn't it? L-A-U-G-H, and that's L-O.
But why would you misspell your own name?
I don't believe she signed the statement.
The key for me is none of these statements are correct. They're not worth the paper they're written on, because you certainly don't misspell your own name.
Amongst the mourners at Shirley Finn's funeral was Louise, 5 months pregnant with Elizabeth. But who was the father of her child, and was he tied to the murder? In Sydney, Paul Morris is also looking for the truth about his father.
Well, as they say in Australia, everyone is supposed to get a fair go. My father never got a fair go. He was accused of being a spy. It's brought a lot of misery to me and to our family. I loved him so much, even though I didn't know him enough.
Paul has flown from his home in Paris to confront the country he feels betrayed by. His idyllic Australian childhood ended after his father was suspected of giving military secrets to the Soviets.
We were blacklisted, kicked out of Australia. I think it destroyed our lives.
Paul Morris's father, David Morris, was a communist, and he was publicly named in the Royal Commission on Espionage in 1954, instigated in the aftermath of one of Australia's greatest political scandals, the Petrov Affair. So what's the truth of the matter? Was Paul's father really a spy, or was he simply a Cold War scapegoat? Hello?
Ah, bonjour.
Ah, bonjour, Paul.
Vous allez bien?
Ah, très
Allez,
bien, merci.
rentrez, s'il vous plaît. Et avancez.
Paul, tell me a little bit about your dad. What sort of a father was he?
I was very fond of him. He was very aloof, but I was very connected to him. Always, always.
He was born in Australia?
Born in Brisbane,
Yeah.
from a bourgeois family, engineer. The age of 21 became a communist.
Your mother was also a communist?
Yes, she became a communist after meeting my father.
Okay.
She was a nurse during the war.
So he was a soldier?
He was a soldier, and they knew he was a communist.
Yes.
But in 1954, there was a Royal Commission into espionage.
Yes.
They basically were saying he was a Soviet spy, and so for his political beliefs, we were persecuted, and he was totally blacklisted.
What ramifications did being blacklisted create?
He would get a job within 2 or 3 months. Basically, what I know, they would say, get rid of this guy, he's no good.
Right. So your family left Australia, basically, because of this harassment?
Yes. We moved, went to China, and then, of course, the Cultural Revolution started in China.
Yep.
So we ended up in the Soviet Union.
Could your father speak Russian?
No, of course not.
Or your mother?
No, none of us.
Wow.
This is Russia. There I am. This is the building we lived in.
So he was looked after in Russia, in a sense?
Yes, oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know how it came about, but my father made friends with Donald Maclean, who was considered an English spy, and yeah, he knew these people.
It would have looked a bit dodgy that he was liaising with people who were considered spies. What if you find that he was in fact a spy? How will that make you feel? You must have contemplated that possibility.
Well, I've heard that he was a spy of all sorts. Could be a double agent, could be a sleeping agent, could be this and that. I don't know what he is.
And you never got to really have these conversations with your dad?
No. My father died when I was 17. For me, it's on my shoulders. I've always had it. It's a load. I'm nearly 70 years old. I'm getting on, and I want to know what really happened. Who is this man?
Yeah.
Because I don't know the truth.
As an engineering student in the 1930s, Paul's father, David Morris, was devastated to see the effects of the Great Depression. In response, he joined the fledgling Australian Communist Party, which believed the Soviet Union provided a workers' paradise and a model for a fairer society. But did Paul's father's commitment to communism see him later betray his country? Paul has travelled to Birmingham in the United Kingdom. In 1936, David Morris took up a postgraduate electrical engineering apprenticeship at GEC Witten Works. Paul is meeting with British communism expert Kevin Morgan, who has found it was here that David Morris first drew the attention of international security agencies.
This is a letter coming from the counterpart of MI5 in Australia.
Dear Colonel Cal. Who was he?
Colonel Cal was the head of MI5.
David John Morris is sailing from Brisbane to Europe. Morris is a keen propagandist for the Communist Party, president of the Brisbane Radical Club and one of the founders of the recently formed Australian Student League, in which we look upon with suspicion.
How about your reputation going before you?
These cables reveal a remarkable level of scrutiny, given Morris's exploits had been confined to student activism.
Within less than a fortnight of his arriving here, Kel, top of MI5, is writing back to Australia with an update.
During the voyage, he made no friends. He spent most of his time typing in his cabin.
It's evidently somebody is keeping an eye on the ship.
Nothing of interest came to light in the customs search of his luggage. Well.
So they're keeping tabs on him. So this is high-level surveillance.
Incredible. I don't believe it.
MI5 surveillance was focused on domestic counter-espionage, observing and identifying political extremists whose activities could threaten the Western world. And in 1930s Birmingham, the agency didn't need to look far.
That was like a little hotbed of communism. And I think communists, almost by definition, came within the net of this surveillance. People knew that it was going on.
How much did he know, though?
Did he talk about these things at all?
No, I never talked about it with my father. I mean, my father was one of these silent men that kept on reading and thinking. And I don't know who he is.
OK, and so here's one final letter from Vernon Kell to his Australian counterpart.
Another secret. Dear Colonel Jones, you may perhaps be interested to know that David John Morris is the leader of the Erdington group of the Communist Party. I knew he was outspoken, but being a foreigner, becoming a leader in the British Communist Party, for me, it's unheard of.
So he was right in the thick of it, in the politics of that time. He wasn't keeping his head down.
Being a leader, that is really something.
But was David Morris just the head of a local Communist Party branch? Or was he recruited in Birmingham as a clandestine operative for the Soviets? In Western Australia, adoptee Elizabeth Brierley is searching for the truth about her father, who she suspects may have been part of Perth's underworld in the 1970s. She's meeting Lee Varys Beswick, who was a sex worker in the red light district at the same time as Elizabeth's biological mum, Louise.
Hello, sweetie.
Good to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
With a cuddle, love. How have you been, darling?
Yeah, good.
I remember Louise.
Really?
She was working at Shirley Finn's brothel, but I never clicked that the Louise was your mum.
She certainly was.
God, look at Northbridge. I would have made a fortune if I was 50 years younger now. Shirley Finn's brothel used to be around here. You know, when I first met Shirley, I was 16, 17-year-old boy.
Oh, really?
So when I started transitioning, I went to work for Shirley. We became mates.
Wow.
And the cops back in those days, they used to ring up and say, Shirley, have some girls ready. And Shirley would come up to you and say, Lee, you need $101. You're going to get busted tonight.
Yep.
The cops would rock up to the house, you got busted.
Yeah.
But then you never went down to the police station. You just went in the car and then they split the money. And this happened every week. That wasn't just one brothel they were doing them all. It was very lucrative for them.
Yeah, okay.
And Lee says a former police officer once told her who killed Shirley Finn.
Well, the story goes, Don Hancock shot Shirley. And I'll bet $1 million Don Hancock shot her. They were bad bastards.
Yeah.
Decades later, Don Hancock's own life ended violently with a car bombing orchestrated by a motorcycle gang. His sudden death left many questions unresolved, including the nature of his relationship with Elizabeth's mum. But for Elizabeth, who's battled a lifetime of doubts about her informal adoption, there is reassurance.
I honestly think your mum wanted your love. It's just that circumstances just made it impossible for her.
She would have been under a lot of stress, given that Shirley got killed.
Yeah. It was a hard life for her, you know. So you wouldn't make your life harder by having a kid if you didn't want it.
Yeah.
So 99.9 of these girls, they had a baby, they wanted them.
Yeah.
You know. Perth is a beautiful city, but back in the early 70s, it was the most corrupt city you ever seen. The police, they were mongrels. And if you ask any of the old working girls, they'll tell you, love, we were treated like dirt. You know?
When I think of Louise, I become very emotional because I feel like I'm crying her tears.
We all have secrets, love. We all have secrets.
Meeting Lee was an absolute privilege and has lifted me. My gut feeling was kind of confirmed by Lee. I think it would be the hardest thing as a mother to have to give your baby away. So I understand. I love her and I forgive her because I do believe in my heart she didn't have a choice. The distinct possibility is maybe I was given up because of who my father is.
In the United Kingdom, Paul Morris is trying to determine if his communist father was a spy. David Morris was under high-level surveillance by intelligence agencies in the 1930s. But the outbreak of World War II changed everything. At the Armageddon Military Museum, curator David Carr has studied the war record of Paul's father and discovered his extraordinary contribution.
Most Australians at that time were heading out to the Pacific, and for some reason your father was sent over to Britain.
Interesting.
When he came over to Britain, it was a very, very crucial part of World War II. He was sent over here specifically to the Military Science College. He was working on something very important. That was to develop amphibious tanks. The vehicle behind you, that is one of the Shermans.
Okay, yeah.
He was involved with the development of technology to make the tanks float and basically sail.
That mind boggles.
We have a photograph sourced of your father and his unit.
Yeah.
You see your father there?
Yes, I see my father very well. I'm surprised. Years ago, when he was in Birmingham, he'd been followed, so how come they let him touch such sensitive military equipment?
By this stage in the war, Communist Russia was an ally against the Nazis, and David Morris's commanders were prepared to overlook his political beliefs to exploit his engineering expertise. Months later, Morris was sent to the German front line to supervise amphibious tank operations in a vital battle.
Amphibious tanks of the British Second Army are crossing in a never-ending stream. The onslaught reached heights of fury never equaled even in Normandy.
So he would have been there in the thick of it to cross the Rhine. It was the last push of the Allied forces in the Second World War.
Being on the front line and all that, and risking his life and being a hero, I'm surprised. He was very courageous.
At war's end, David Morris's engineering skills were in great demand. However, he chose to remain as an officer in the Australian Army. In 1946, he was promoted and sent back to the UK to take up a prestigious posting. But on arrival with his wife Bernice, he was suddenly no longer wanted.
Officially, his time in the UK came to an end. September 11th, 1946, he embarks back for Australia.
Appointment terminated. What was he doing?
We don't know fully what happened.
Right.
Whatever it was classified.
And that's when all the trouble started. He was sent back to Australia and said, sorry, we don't need your services anymore. What is going on?
What did David Morris do to warrant his extraordinary recall to Australia? Paul Morris has returned to Australia to understand why his father's 1946 job in the United Kingdom came to an abrupt end. Political commentator Dr. Meredith Bergman has accessed over 600 pages of declassified documents on David Morris.
What is going on? Because my father was sent over to England and he's immediately sent back again.
Well, here we are in August 1946. Russia is no longer the great ally and anti-communism is really beginning.
Cold War.
So, yeah, exactly.
After World War II ended, the old rivalry between the capitalist West and the communist East intensified. In Australia, communists were now seen as the main threat to national security.
And you see military intelligence starting to check up where the known communists are.
Captain Edwards called Thursday, 22nd of August, and reported that David John Morris was, at the present, in England in connection with special experiments into rockets. Rockets. Captain Edwards believes that Morris would be in on the ground floor of most secret information.
So this would have raised all the red alerts. Security organisations were always obsessive about communists with a scientific attachment and particularly your father, he'd worked on tanks and on rockets. They would have been very, very worried about the fact that he was an overt communist.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, I never knew anything about these documents.
All this was going on behind the scenes, really at the height of the Cold War.
Yeah.
And your poor family knew nothing about it. And you see what happens. The next document I want you to look at, once again from the security branches.
Please include the name of David John Morris in the blacklists.
So within a month of discovering that he was working in Britain on rockets, they have him put on a blacklist. A blacklist really wasn't an actual list. It's more that this person is now to be watched, not trusted, and, you know, their lives interfered with forevermore, really, which is what happened to your father.
Basically, if I may say so, it fucked up their lives and the rest of their lives.
In the months following David Morris's blacklisting, credible information revealed a Soviet spy ring was operating in Australia. placing pressure on the government, which established the Australian Security Intelligence Organisation, ASIO.
If you look over there, you can actually see the ASIO headquarters. Takes up 2 city blocks, and that's now where all the files on your father are.
When I saw the ASIO building, it sort of reminds me that in the 70s I worked in South Melbourne. Not far away there was the ASIO building. And I felt like one day just walking in there with a bag full of snakes, nice and poisonous, drop them and say, "Good day, dear sir," and piss off. Why wouldn't I? They were a pack of bastards.
And ASIO's focus on the Morris family was to intensify. In 1954, as anti-communist fervour swirled in Australia, senior Soviet diplomat Vladimir Petrov defected, causing a national sensation. Among secret documents Petrov smuggled out of the Soviet embassy was a list thought to contain the names of possible Soviet spies. And on that list was David Morris. Dr. Frank Kane is the author of the unofficial history of ASIO.
The list of names, which mentions your father and other Australians as well, was in the KGB safe among what they call the G documents. It's in Russian.
Yeah, well, my Russian is not too good.
Yes, here, I've got the translation.
Dave Morris, born 1910, Major, Bachelor of Science. During the Second World War, he studied tank matters in England. In 1946, was sent to England to work in the sphere of military research. So?
Aha, yeah, that's right.
So what does that give?
Pretty inoffensive, isn't it?
Yeah, quite enough. It says here, undercover member of the Communist Party. Undercover member.
While seemingly benign, the Soviet description of David Morris as an undercover member of the Communist Party was pivotal. ASIO believed it defined Morris as a part of the secret arm of the Communist Party responsible for covert activities.
Undercover member of the Communist Party. And he's denied it. And also, but that's gold to ASIO, you see. That's very valuable, you see, because it comes from the horse's mouth. It's in Russian.
Prime Minister Robert Menzies used the documents and defection as grounds to call the Royal Commission on Espionage, with David Morris ordered to appear twice.
Here's your good father, photographed outside of the Royal Commission.
He's angry. So what did they say about him?
There's about 10 or 15 pages here that involve your father. What they're trying to do is to argue that he's a suspect and get him to confess.
Lacking hard evidence, the Royal Commission's QC cast doubts on Morris's distinguished war record.
Your father is fighting back. He's pushing back against this attempt to railroad him.
He denied that in 1940 he was ever interested in obtaining information concerning troop movements. Morris says the idea is fantastic and the answer is no. He's ready to put up a fight, huh?
That's right. They're trying to undermine him wherever they possibly can. They don't get anything on him. That's the point, you see. Nevertheless, when they summarise the whole of the Royal Commission, your good old dad is given a serve again. They say, your father was the most unsatisfactory and evasive witness and lied on a number of matters.
It was a damning final assessment of David Morris, who remained on ASIO's watch list. And declassified files now reveal Paul's father wasn't the only family member being tracked.
You, curiously, are part of this investigation because they go down to your parents' house at Dandenong and check out the scene.
May 1954, in the company of Field Officer Elliott, a small fair-haired boy, aged 4 years, was seen playing at the side of the house.
This is how you're being watched, even as a young boy.
What have I got to do with it?
That's right.
I've got a vivid memory, but I remember a black car was outside of this fence. I can visualise them, a Dandenong fence.
Yes, that's right.
I remember just sitting in the ground and, what's this car doing there? It shows on this paper, it's not an imagination.
That's right.
The Royal Commission didn't recommend a single prosecution, but it wasn't without consequences, with Paul's father struggling to retain employment. A memoir by Paul's mother, Bernice Morris, details the family's destitution.
This is Mum's book. Scarcely a day passed without demands for money. My most frequent visitors seemed to be policemen bearing summons. I felt we had really reached rock bottom when one of them had a warrant against our furniture. With Dave's precarious position in Tasmania, and police, process servers and creditors banging on my door at home, the outlook was very bleak. Do I feel sorry for my mother? Yes, I mean, this is ridiculous. So, yeah, there's harassing. I really haven't found out who was my father. I would like to know him. I would like to talk to him. Just, I don't know.
But was the persecution of David Morris unwarranted? A former senior intelligence officer has agreed to meet Paul to present for the first time the evidence implicating his father.
What is the truth behind my father? I'm waiting for the punchline.
In Western Australia, adoptee Elizabeth Brierley suspects her biological father may have been connected to the murder of brothel madam Shirley Finn. Now, Brad Argent from Ancestry finally has the answer.
And we got your DNA and we put it in the database. One of the people you connected with was a first cousin. She had an extensive family history. So she gave us that. And we've got to the point now where I can give you a family name.
Okay.
It's McNamara.
So there's Irish in there, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Hence the love of potatoes.
So the McNamaras were, and still are, a very prominent family in Australia with lots of, pastoral holdings. And in fact, there is a book.
Oh, look at that. I'm delighted.
We've been able to narrow it down a little bit more. We're pretty confident we have a name for your father.
Okay. And that is?
Harold.
Harold.
Harold McNamara.
Okay. So do you know the story of how he knew Louise, or?
We don't.
Okay.
When I look at your story and I look at the life that your biological mum led and the circles in which she operated, I find it interesting that the person who's ended up as your father doesn't seem to be associated with those circles at all.
So he's a good guy. That's good news.
Now, he was born in 1926. He mostly worked on the land, managing stations, and sometimes multiple stations at once.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a biography of your dad. Around the time that you were conceived, he'd bought a business. That might have been when he had the opportunity to meet your mum.
Right, yeah.
And I've got a picture of him.
Okay. Can I see it? Oh, look at that. Ah, that's where the bump on the nose comes from. Grinning ear to ear. He looks like a typical Irishman, doesn't he? Wow.
He's a handsome man.
Yeah. Wow, look at that. Looks like a very happy character, doesn't he?
He's got a bit of the larrikin about him in that photo.
Ah, right. I knew it come from him off your boys.
There's other photos of him as well.
That'd be great.
He's this lanky, almost gangly man.
Yeah.
Now, Harold died in 1995.
The same year that Louise died. Okay.
But the key person who unlocked this is Harold's son, a man called Ray. He helped us out by taking a DNA test, and based on his results, it was pretty obvious to us that he was your half-brother.
Wow. Wow, well, that's pretty good.
Would you like to meet him?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be good. I feel like I'm in a bit of a dream at the moment. Sorry. Wow, yeah, that would be really good. Ray of sunshine, eh? Oh, dear.
Elizabeth's newly discovered half-brother has flown to Perth to meet her.
I'm very nervous because, you know, you've got a connection there, but you're still two strangers that don't know each other.
Paul Morris has lived most of his life weighed down by the accusation that his father was a Soviet spy. Now, for the first time, an intelligence expert has agreed to speak to Paul about the evidence implicating his father. Dr. John Fay is an honorary fellow of the Department of Security Studies and Criminology at Macquarie University. He was once a senior intelligence officer tasked with running spy networks.
John?
And he has spent weeks looking at David Morris's ASIO file.
If you said to me as somebody associated with the business, should we keep a very close eye on this man? The answer is absolutely. The specific reasons for that, most powerful reason, is this gentleman here, Wally Clayton. This man is the head of the clandestine arm of the Communist Party of Australia. Wally Clayton is the only person in Australia who can give permission for you to work for the KGB or anybody else. And he was very closely associated with this gentleman here, Jack Skolnick. Lived in Melbourne, was a very wealthy man. They've worked very closely together in clandestine activity. At the time, in the lead-up to the Royal Commission into Petrov, Wally Clayton was on the run from the authorities here in Australia. He turned up working on Jack Skolnick's house. Your father designed and built a steel door on a room for Jack Skolnick with Wally Clayton, and that is very damning. Jack Skolnick would never have exposed Wally Clayton to your father if your father wasn't trusted.
Why would he be building a steel door for this gentleman?
That's a very good question. Given the fact that your father's an electrical and mechanical engineer, he would have understood what a Faraday cage was.
A Faraday cage?
Faraday cage is a room built of metal.
Yes.
And you can use a steel door and chicken wire, which you charge. No signals can get in, no signals can get out. My view is that what they were doing was building a secure room to hold clandestine meetings that could not be eavesdropped on by listening devices or telephone taps. I can't prove that.
Yeah,
I'd
well,
love to.
exactly.
But
no one can prove it.
But when you go through his history, I think your father started off as a member of the Communist Party with the best of intentions. I think he was selected by Wally Clayton and moved into the clandestine world. I'm interested in a couple of things. The very first is, when you arrived in Moscow, how long did it take you to get a 3-bedroom apartment?
We had it within 2 weeks.
Within weeks. That only happens to very special people. Somebody has to be looking after you up at the senior levels of the politics.
Even as a foreigner?
Especially as a foreigner. I would have been interested in how often the KGB checked your apartment. Did they visit weekly or did they visit monthly?
Check? What do you mean by check?
Come in, check your papers, count the people in the apartment, ask what you've been doing. Did they ever do that?
Just sit by me, I don't know.
Your family had a direct contact to the Central Committee through a man called Constantine.
That's right. No, I sort of vaguely do remember.
He was the personal secretary to a big knob on the Central Committee who looked after your family. To get a 3-bedroom flat, to have a direct line contact to the Central Committee and not to be getting subjected to constant KGB checks says to me that you were very well connected. How long after you got to the Soviet Union did you meet Donald McLean?
That I do not remember.
Right.
We were family friends.
McLean is the known KGB operative, one of the Cambridge Five. In terms of KGB folklore, he's crown jewels. You know that Donald McLean was made the executor for your family. He was the legal authority for managing the apartment, managing your presence in the schools, looking after you and keeping you safe.
I didn't know that much, but I knew that he had to keep an eye on me.
Nobody gets to talk to Donald McLean unless they are trusted. I think your father was part of a clandestine cell of the Communist Party of Australia, probably the most efficient and effective cell of that operated in Australia in the 1940s and the 1950s. We knew there was a cell in Melbourne. We don't know what they stole, but we know they stole some good stuff. From everything I've looked at, I have no doubt that he was a clandestine asset. They were called athletes.
Athletes.
I think your father was probably a highly successful agent. And although I work on the other side,
yes,
when you work on the other side, you develop a respect for your opponents. It doesn't hide the fact that what he was doing was stealing Australian secrets.
Do you think my mother was aware of all this?
I think she was aware of part of it, but I don't think she was aware of just how ruthless it was. In all of the decisions he made, I don't think the family was taken into account.
Probably not. I would never be able to sacrifice the family for my beliefs. No, not at all. Having these secrets come out, I've learned quite a lot. I have John who tells me that within 5 pages you can prove that he's a spy, top spy, the top of the top, never found out. If that is the truth, let it be. I feel relieved. It has taken a monkey off my back. And yeah, I'll get on with life.
For Elizabeth Brierley, the revelation of her family secret has given her a new identity and a chance to connect for the first time with her brother Ray.
Hello.
Hi. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
Good. Ray?
That's Elizabeth. Pleased to meet you. You look lovely.
Thank you. So do you.
And these are for you.
Oh, thank you. They're very nice. Thank you.
You'd like to take a seat?
I will do.
Well, we've got a lot to talk about.
We certainly do.
As a child and growing up, I always wanted a sister.
Did you really?
Yes, I did.
Well, you've got one now, don't you?
Yeah. I'm absolutely over the moon about it. Our father, that's yours and mine. I bought a picture of him here. Now, the lady here That's my mum's sister.
Okay, so your auntie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From the 70s through to the 80s, he'd spent a lot of time in Perth.
Okay.
And he loved the women.
Yeah, ladies' man.
He was a ladies' man, yes. He passed away. He had cancer. But there was one of the things that he did do while he was sick. He put his hands to some leather work. Now, he made that. I'd like to present that to you.
Oh, thank you, lovey. Wow. My ex-husband did leather work too. He was a bootmaker.
Oh, okay.
So this is a profession that I understand pretty well.
Right.
That's beautiful. Then you know what, Ray? I never thought this day would come.
Yeah. Having a sister, you've really made this old fellow happy.
That's good, lovey. That's good.
Aha.
No,
Hi, Elizabeth.
no.
How are you?
Good, lovey.
Good to see you. You look like a different person from the last time I saw you. You look 10 years younger and you don't seem lost.
Yeah, I tended to, before I started this, look at life like the glass is always half empty. Where now I see that really the glass is half full.
So you were quite fearful, as I recall, about who your father might have been.
It was a really pleasant surprise, Noni, to find that my assumptions were wrong. I got to meet my half-brother, Ray.
Who you didn't know existed?
I didn't know he existed, no. From what Ray told me, that Harold had an inkling that he had a daughter. Harold wasn't just a client. There was a fondness and a friendship that Harold and Louise had formed, I assume, over a few years.
So you were born from a loving relationship?
Yeah, yeah. And the acceptance that I got from Ray was just tear-jerking.
Yes.
But really strange to have met someone that you have almost an instant connection with.
You felt that strongly?
Yeah, yeah.
And he did too?
Yeah,
yeah.
When he looks at me, he just sees his dad.
Oh, how does that make you feel? It must make you feel like you belong.
Yeah,
yes.
it does.
That's so special.
Yeah.
Have you talked to him since you met him?
Yes, every day actually.
Oh, wow.
Hanging up's the hardest part because I think we both worry about each other. And I just so looking forward to catching up with him and his beautiful wife to start a new chapter.
So what would you say to people who might want to embark on a journey like this but who are afraid to?
I would say do it, because on the other side of fear is something absolutely wonderful. It was like going home.